Harry Gagnon joining us from the Against All Odds podcast on Twitter at AAO Harry. Always a blast when we can catch up. It's been a couple of weeks at this point. I've been vacationing like a madman, and you're in
Good for you.
Barcelona, so look at us go.
Good for you, Brandon. Yeah, I hope you and your family had a great time on vacation. Yeah, I'm out and about, so it's been wonderful. The weather's fantastic, and still got to pay attention to these games. We NBA just ended. We still got hockey, so let's get rolling.
Do you find that tougher when you're on the road, or are you actually able to lock in a little bit better because you have hours to comb through this stuff on an airplane?
Well, you know what? When in Europe, the time change, and I live in Phoenix, and it's a 9-hour difference, and games start at 2:30 in the morning, roughly. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to keep track, and especially if you can't find it on television anywhere, and you got to update on your phone, and it's ESPN changes to ESPN Deportes, and you got to kind of learn different languages as well. So it can be crazy at times.
Is sports betting legal over there?
It is, there's one casino and you can actually bet sports in there. And when I was there last year, it's during the French Open, and went in there, didn't realize. I checked it out. You could bet the kiosks and everything. They had tellers, but I'll tell you what, it was during, like I said, the French Open, and there were guys in there going crazy, Brandon. Screw every point in the tennis, they're going nuts. It was wild. I was in amazement because people give or take tennis in the States, but some other places it's very popular, and they were going crazy. So it's very interesting.
All right, so we've got Game 6 in the Stanley Cup Final tonight. The Oilers have jumped all over the Panthers now. It's 3-2. Florida can still close it out with a win. Minus 120 on the money line for the Edmonton Oilers. I have a hard time not backing them here. Do you want to talk me in or out of that before I really smash the button on this one?
No, it's very. I mean, it's to the point where we really have to consider: is Edmonton really going to pull this off? Are they really going to win 4 straight? Someone where no one's done this before, basketball, hockey. I mean, you thought maybe, all right, Bobrovsky had his one bad game, let Edmonton light the lamp 8 times in game 4. Okay, fine. They head back to Florida. They're going to close it out. They're going to get it done. Paul Maurice is going to figure things out, make sure this team is their heads are squared on straight. Not the case. 5 more goals for Edmonton, and now it's back in Canada for game 6. I kind of agree with you. It's I mean, I kind of want to back Edmonton here. It's just everything's going their way right now. I like by the way, I like Zach Hyman anytime goal too at plus 125. He finally, after a 4-game drought, scored a power play goal in game 5. Somehow he didn't score, Brandon, in that game where they scored 8 in game 4, but somehow he still leads Edmonton in goals in the playoffs. Game on, series on. Like I said, Chef back to Alberta. I think the fans are going to be crazy in the Rogers Center. Hyman lights the lamp again. I don't love it, but I'm going to take Edmonton, and I'm going to take Hyman to score at least a goal.
I kind of do love it, though.
Yeah,
we give goals all this credit when they get hot, but there's another end to that spectrum, and Sergei Bobrovsky can't stop a nosebleed right now. They've given up 13 goals in 2 games.
After 3 games, he was a lock. He was a lock for Conn Smythe, and now even it's funny. It's Connor McDavid right now is a minus 155 favorite, and they're the team down 3-2. Is he? I mean, if Florida were to win this, game, say 5-4, do they give McDavid the Conn Smythe even if they lose in 6 games? I don't know, but very interesting. And I hear you. Listen, you're kind of talking me into Edmonton a little more and more here, Brandon. I don't know.
Come over to the dark side. We're talking with Harry Gagnon from the Against All Odds podcast. Teams in the NBA are making moves ahead of the official free agency, which starts in about 9 days. We saw a trade between the Bulls and the Thunder. Alex Caruso headed to OKC. Pascal Siakam signs with the Pacers. Malik Monk, unfortunately for Magic fans, he's sticking with the Sacramento Kings. Do any of these moves move the needle for you?
Not really. Monk is a tremendous player, though. It's very interesting. I'm only $78 million for a guy that comes off the bench, but when he is healthy, which he wasn't at the end of the season for Sacramento, he is extremely productive. He's had some great games in the over the past of the season and over the last couple of years for Sacramento. I do like that fit for Sacramento. I think they need him off the bench. That's a lot of money though, but I would lean towards that one. But I also like Siakam signing big time, getting this big money with Indiana. Had a very productive season as well. He's got a playoff experience. He's got a ring to his credit in Toronto. And you know what, Brandon? I know it's very early to look at the NBA futures for teams to win in 2025. But on Against All Odds, we went over this and we all picked our team. And I'll tell you what, Brandon, I'll tell you value. I'm going to give you a value pick. And speaking of the Pacers, they are 50-1. They are 50-1. The Knicks, who had a great season, don't get me wrong, and Knicks are going to have to figure a lot of things out in the offseason. OG is going to be a free agent. Don't know what what they're gonna do with him. They got another couple, and the Knicks are 16-1 to win the championship next year. They did a lot of nice things. A lot of injuries cost them the end of the season, but the Pacers at 50-1. 50-1, Brandon, team to look out for because Rick Carlisle's team in 2022-23 was 35-47. In this past season, 23-24, they flipped the switch, 12-game switch. Now they were 47-35, 12-game difference in a year. They led the NBA in scoring at 123 points per game, 3 more than the NBA champs were in Boston, who were second at 120. And Indiana, if you really look at it, was the only team that really challenged Boston in the playoffs easily. I say easily. Could have been up 3-1 in that series. They got swept, but they could have been up 3-1. Pacers at 50-1. I love that price.
I have a hard time buying into that one. I think they need something else. And
Sure.
maybe, yeah, you get 50-1 now and then hope that they make another move. They got to solidify something defensively because they can't stop anybody. And I just think, as much as I love Tyrese Halliburton, love him. Pascal Siakam's an all-star player, so he helps. They got to find a third piece.
Sure, they got to get
without a third piece. You're not winning a championship.
But Halliburton, who led the NBA in assists, you're right, and Siakam, who's got the experience and averages 20 plus. One more piece, and they could be one heck of a team. And like I said, definitely play with the Knicks, definitely play with Milwaukee, definitely play with Philadelphia. But they got to challenge and take care of Boston, who was unbelievable this year with 64 wins. But yeah, one more piece, Brandon. They might be the team.
So you and I were talking offline briefly, and you gave the overall grade of the NBA playoffs as a whole like a D+ or something like that.
I did. I gave
the finals were kind of a dud. So I think the fact that it ended poorly, maybe that skews the grade. Is that part of the thought process here?
That's part of my analysis. Plus, also, after what what Minnesota did to Denver, you expected more. We thought that the Western Conference Finals with Dallas against Minnesota was going to be off the charts, right? After what Minnesota did, that was a dud too. Minnesota just didn't show up. It was awful. And by the way, Boston, 19 playoff games this year. Really, game 1 and game 3 against the Pacers were good. But again, like you just mentioned, the finals, all those games were pretty bad. Nothing was really close. Boston was 9-2 at home in the playoffs this year. 7 of those 9 wins, Brandon, were by 15 or more. I mean, maybe the Knicks in Philly and the Knicks in Indiana was entertaining. I give it a D+, and if not for that, I give it a D.
And how about this for the Boston Celtics? Perhaps part of the reason why Monty Williams lost his job. The Celtics won more games in the playoffs than the Pistons, and the Wizards won all season.
Wow. Is that something? Is that something else? Oof.
They were at 15 and 14 apiece.
Wow.
So how about this one? Now, I know you got to pay a steep price, but it might just be worth it. A little freebie never hurt anybody. Maybe we parlay this with something. Brian Reynolds of the Pirates at -225 to record a hit. He's riding a 17-game hit streak right now. They take on the Rays tonight. I got to parlay this with something. What do you think? We matched Brian Reynolds up. What's the most confident other side that we could place with this?
Well, if your book or whatever you allow takes it, how about this? We've got since I'm over here, we've got the Euro Cup going on. How about this? Tonight, you got Netherlands playing France. both teams to score at least one goal at minus 128. Like, I don't know if you've seen, like, Brandon, I don't know how much you're paying attention to this, but the
None.
Orange Army of the Netherlands has just invaded Germany. There's orange shirts all over the place, and their defense, I don't think it's that great considering they gave up a goal to Poland, who's not an offensive minded team at all. And Poland was without their best player, Robert Lewandowski, in the first matchup. And they also, by the way, the Netherlands put up 2 in that game. And France, I expect more out of France. In game 1, they had an own goal. That was it. They won 1-0. Mwapi, broke his nose, but he's going to be available and ready for this game. I think you see a lot out of him. I think this is a 1-1, 2-1 type of game. Netherlands and France, minus 128. Tie it up with your baseball pick to score. Both teams to score a goal.
Also, the College World Series that's going to be started, or the final that's going to start up this weekend between Tennessee and Texas A&M. I don't know how much that's been on your radar, given that you are over across the pond, Harry, over here. But any lean there? This cross SEC rivalry, best of 3.
I know Tennessee's been fantastic all year, and they got a heck of an offense. But I'll tell you, I have been paying attention, and A&M's pitching has been outstanding. They really shut down Kentucky when they had to play them. I'd lean a little bit towards A&M as a small underdog here. I think they're maybe 150 for the series. I know Tennessee had a scare in game 1. They probably should have lost. They scored 4 in the last inning to rally, and they've played great since. But A&M's pitching, I think, might give them a chance.
I only have here the game 1 odds, and you got A&M at plus 135. But if you like them for the series, you ought to like them in game 1. Scotty Scheffler's plus 275 to win at the Travelers. He's 4 back on the lead as I see it right now. Is there anybody else out there that you'd be willing to throw some coin at, or is it all Scotty?
I'll take a shot at maybe Brian Harmon, a colleague of mine, Parlay Kid, really likes him this week too. In Connecticut, he's been fantastic at that course. I want to say he shot a 3 under 67. He hasn't teed off in the second round just yet, so he's playing late. I know the scores are really they're jumping. Players are hitting birdies and stuff all over the place. But Brian Harmon hasn't teed off. Like I said, I think he shot a 67 in round 1, and like a 5 out of the last 6 tournaments there. He loves it there in Connecticut. He's finished in the top 25 of the last 6. So look out for Brian Harmon. If he can shoot a 65 today, he'll be right in the contention for the weekend. And again, he's been there. He's been fantastic. Loves that course. It fits him well.
Follow my man Harry on Twitter at AAO Harry for all of his worldly travels and betting advice. Harry, always a pleasure, my friend.
BK, take care, bud. Have a good weekend, pal. See ya.